Howdy folks, I'm Excitable Early Hairstreak, eagerly enjoying exquisite eats.
I'm birthday Princess Amber.
Oh look, it's a birthday princess, Amber. You can tell that she's a princess because of the tiara. And that's the only people who get crowns and tiaras are princesses. So that's undebatable. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Saying That Olive Garden Isn't a Fancy Restaurant? And I did apologize to my cousin. He's over it and told me just to watch what I say in the future. Lesson learned. We're good now. I'm from New York City and we have a cousin from Wisconsin. I visited him before and it's a pretty typical small town. Food scene is nothing but chains, family diners, and bars. There's no actual cities nearby, so for people who've never left, they don't really know any better. My cousin and I called on Sunday, and he told me that he took his wife to a fancy restaurant for her birthday. And I asked him where he went, and he said Olive Garden. I told him that I'm not trying to be rude, but Olive Garden isn't a fancy restaurant. I said, if they like it, that's all that matters, but it's genuinely not a fancy restaurant. I told him that he's welcome to crash at my place for a much better scene. He went on a tirade about how this is why nobody likes New Yorkers and basically everything else people get wrong about us. I'm constantly being told that I'm nice and down to earth, so I know that he's wrong about that, and obviously he's wrong about my city. But am I the jerk for saying that Olive Garden isn't a fancy restaurant? I still will apologize to smooth things over regardless of the verdict, for what it's worth. Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Yeah, Opie, I think you're being a bit of a jerk and a bit pretentious. Fancy is relative. I'm sure wherever billionaires go to eat, they would think that what Opie considers fancy is like laughable.
Yeah.
You know, where we live in Central Maine, Olive Garden is pretty much peak fancy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think maybe just kind of think about why you're so insist. I understand you love your city and you love your restaurants, but like, accept that not everyone's going to have the same definition of fancy, and you don't have to convince everyone that your way of life is the best way of life.
Well, I mean, I think it's nice for him to be offering up a place to stay and say, hell, if you want to, have a really high class experience, maybe come on over and I can take you to a restaurant or something like that, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think insulting, what he called a fancy restaurant isn't good, right?
He's coming across very snobby.
Yeah. And I think that this could have been handled without dragging down what his friend or his cousin considered a fancy restaurant, really, right? So, maybe just not like rag on people, I think is really kind of what it boils down to. Again, I think it's a generous offer to be like, oh, would you like to come on by and see some other restaurants? We have some really good restaurants here in New York, and, they might really be good suiting towards your taste, but he was like, you don't know what fancy is. Come on by and I'll show you what fancy is. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Will I Be a Jerk for Canceling My Vow Renewal Ceremony and Going More Private? And Amber would like to read this one.
I'm a 35-year-old female and my husband's a 35-year-old male. We were teens when we met. We were planning a wedding, and at 19 years old I became pregnant. At the time, we lived with my dad, and he threatened to kick us out if we didn't get married ASAP. This is after I bought the dress and all that, but it was still a courthouse wedding. We are coming up on our 15 years married this year, and I wanted to have a little event at our new property to celebrate it. I announced that we are planning for Halloween. We are goth/witchy back in January. My sister, a 30-year-old female, and her husband had their vow renewal last weekend, 3 years married. It was beautiful and sweet. I'm happy for her. However, she has assumed the role of wedding planner for my vow renewal. So far, she has suggested I change the date to something more suitable for our dad. My dad and his wife moved 3 hours away where it snows all the time. She suggested I use her house for the venue and even sending me dresses she thinks I should wear. She has told me, this isn't about you, it's about being considerate of others. Me in all my stubborn glory said, you know what? You're right. It's not about me. It's about Dad, so I'll just do something more private and intimate with 2 close friends instead. Now the idea of going somewhere random into the woods with 2 to 3 friends, getting all dressed up and doing a small ceremony sounds amazing and less drama. So would I be the jerk if I canceled it at all and had the fall/Halloween theme in the woods without telling anyone else?
All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, your first wedding was for your dad. And so the way the sister is like trying to make your vow renewal all about your dad, no, this is your time to get the wedding you were denied. And so I say go for it. Have a nice drama-free romp in the woods with your friends in some gothy, witchy attire. I'm sure it will be a lot more meaningful to you and a lot, happier memories than if you're trying to create a wedding your dad that's going to appease your dad once again.
Yes, as Amber said, please romp in the woods. And I don't know. I'm just being ridiculous. I think that this is OP's vow renewal, and they can do with it as they want, and they don't need anyone's permission. Plain and simple. Now, if they do this, then it might not be the ceremony that they kind of wanted, or the wedding that they always wanted when they were younger, right? And it really depends on what they want and what their tastes are. So if they don't want this person controlling their wedding or becoming their wedding planner, all they need to do is tell their sister to back off and to mind their own business. They can say, look, I appreciate that you are trying to help me plan my wedding, but I think actually I'm fine and I'm going to plan it on my own from here on out, right? And so I think that they can just avoid all this drama just by, cutting her loose and saying, sorry, too bad, so sad, I'm not doing this.
Well, I think that the issue is then the sister and the dad and everyone's going to be upset and criticizing the wedding if the OP were, or the renewal, if OP were to do it as her original plan. And so I think choosing some drama-free friends to have their vow renewal with is probably the best route to go.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't say that they couldn't, I just said that this is their choice and they need to do whatever is going to make them the happiest.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, like, it probably is not going to be drama-free that way either.
Well, it might not be drama-free this way, right? Like, after they get done with the, vow renewal, the family might throw a fit and make a big deal out of it and stuff like that. So I don't know if they can really win on the drama-free front.
Yeah, but at least the day of hopefully won't be dramatic.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Showing Up to My Friend's Cosplay-Themed 30th as Phoebe Buffay? My friend's Rachel's 30th birthday was this past weekend. Obviously not her real name. Haha. We've been friends since college and work in the same industry. A boring one, lol. So we've stayed close. I've helped with some of the logistical type stuff, but not as a host or anything like that. Rachel has always been into fandom stuff, always has shows that she's watching, fan fictions that she's writing or reading, fan theories and fan projects. I'm not much of a fandom person. When I watch shows, I don't get very invested or engage with fan theories. I also don't tend to like shows where there's a big fan following. From what I can tell, it's mostly stuff like fantasy, science fiction, or paranormal stuff that happens. Forums for shows that I like tend to be all like, this character is overhated, or X is a bad person. The closest that I've come to anything like that is watching a few episodes of Star Trek with my dad as a kid. I usually really like dramas or fun lighthearted shows like Sex and the City or Friends. I know the cool thing these days is to make a big show about how you don't find Friends funny, and truthfully, I haven't seen an episode of it in years. It's just an example. For her birthday, she asked everyone to show up in cosplay from their favorite shows. I'll say that most of our social group is similar to her, and they like this sort of thing. I'm one of the few odd ducks out. I tried to think of something that I could dress up as, and I saw some TikTok of a girl showing off her Phoebe Buffay inspired outfits. And I had a few similar things in my closet, so I went with that. When I showed up, Rachel greeted me, then asked me what I was dressed up as because she didn't recognize it. I told her, and she didn't know the name, and I explained. Then she made a funny face and said that I guess that kind of counts. I didn't really think about it again until later that evening when Rachel was talking to everyone and thanked them all for coming and saying that she had fun talking about all the cosplay costumes with everyone and how everyone did such a good job, except Jessica, but it's okay. You definitely might have tried. It's not like everyone laughed or anything, but it was very awkward. I ended up leaving a little while later because it just felt off. A couple days later, Rachel and I were texting and she said, by the way, next time I'll help you pick so you aren't embarrassed. I feel like she's implying that I should be embarrassed. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. I mean, I understand having like theme parties and whatnot, but you have to understand that like not everyone is going to be able to like drop a bunch of money on some elaborate cosplay. I think the friend's expectations were a little high, but even if she's a little disappointed, I think where she's really the jerk is like publicly shaming OP for not living up to her standards. like, I know that OP isn't really into the cosplay scene, but she at least tried. And
Mm-hmm.
like, even if she hadn't shown up in a cosplay at all, like having your friends there on your birthday should probably be more important than the costumes. I've had Halloween parties before, and I know some of the people going are not going to dress up, and that's okay. I'm just happy to have them there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that Rachel needs to reevaluate her priorities. And, you know, is it more important that she has like fancy cosplay pictures or something like that, or that she spends time with the people who matter to her?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really what it boils down to here. And I think the friend was extremely cruel for what they said. This was completely uncalled for. There wasn't any need to call OP out for this. And if they really wanted to have like a fancy, really dress up cosplay type of thing, then that needed to be stated on the invitation or something like that. You can't just blame someone who isn't a cosplayer for not cosplaying well enough, right?
Yeah, well, and like a lot of like true cosplays tend to be really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, I mean, it depends on the character, of course. If your character is pretty much just like a person in regular clothes, like Phoebe Buffay, like, yeah, that's not going to be expensive. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
going from like some kind of futuristic one where you get all kinds of like armor and all kinds of stuff, that costs a lot of time and money and
Mm-hmm.
energy to make. And if you buy it pre-made because it's too much work, like that's going to cost you lots and lots of money.
Yeah.
So,
So I just think their expectations need to be tamped down a bit if they're going to invite people who aren't cosplayers to
mm-hmm.
their event, right? So yeah, I don't think that OP was in the wrong. I think the friend was really rude. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled "I Love You." Well, last night I was trying to get my 7-year-old to wash his hands after using the bathroom, and I was annoyed that he didn't. I said loudly and sternly, "Dude, what do I always say?" Thinking what I always say is flush and wash your hands every time, because I say it a lot. My son looked at me for a second, thinking, and said, "I love you," because that's probably what I say more than anything else to my kids. It made me genuinely happy that this was his honest answer to what does dad always say is "I love you." I do love you, buddy. Never forget it. And wash your hands. All right, folks, what do you think of that one?
Oh, this one's just so wholesome. I
It's
really
very
like
wholesome.
it.
Yeah.
But that is an important lesson to wash your hands.
I mean, it is. It is. I mean, always wash your hands. We don't have to tell the fans here to wash their hands because they are clearly the people who do wash their hands. I don't know. I've just alienated all the non-hand washing people in who watch our channel. I'm sorry. We also have the people who don't wash their hands who watch our channel. So it's everyone, and we have the people who roll around in mud and muck and stuff like that. Those people watch this channel too. So everyone watches the channel. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our last letter is titled "Today I Messed Up by Accidentally Proposing in a Home Depot." My girlfriend and I were at Home Depot picking out a new shower head. We were joking around, pretending to role play as a boring suburban homeowners. I said something like, "I just want to build a life with you and maybe tile a backsplash someday." She laughed and said, "Wow, that almost sounded like a proposal." So, me, being dramatic, got down on one knee in the plumbing aisle with a washer and said, "Will you marry me, babe?" We were laughing until she said yes, dead serious. Eyes misty, voice shaking, yes. Oh my god, yes. I froze, I panicked, I was not proposing, I was pretending. And I just went with it. We're engaged now. Our families know. There's a group chat. I still haven't told her that it wasn't real. All right, folks, what do you think of that one?
I mean, it sounds like you are engaged, Opie. If you don't want this, now is the time to speak up or forever hold your peace.
Well, I mean, they should have spoke up in the Home
Well,
Depot
yeah.
after proposing if this wasn't a real proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and for clarification, OP is actually a woman in this, and I don't know that that matters too much, but I do want to like add some context here. And some people were pretty critical over the fiance for accepting the washer as a ring, but I mean, I think that just kind of goes to show that people can accept a proposal even if it is with a washer. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? A
Well,
proposal is a proposal.
yeah, at the end of the day, it's the love, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it just shows that she loves OP so much that she is happy to marry her even if she gets a washer ring.
Yeah. So I think OP really made a mistake if they didn't really want to get married, or they weren't really serious with their proposal, to, say that in the Home Depot. This is why you don't joke about proposals, right? I mean, you never know what someone's response is going to be, and it's never going to be like, if it's a no, or if it's not understood that this is a fake proposal, then it can cause a lot of, strange issues, right? And the fact is that OP really needed to say something before all the family knew, because, like, now for all intents and purposes, they are engaged, right? So, I mean, everyone thinks that they're engaged except for OP, but OP, you are engaged.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Enjoy backsplashing some tile with your wife to be.
Yeah. And, the thing is that this is going to be a personal decision to OP. I don't think they need to come out and tell their partner that this was a joke or anything like that, or, spoil the moment. As long as they are, fine with being married to this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing to say that they couldn't have a long engagement as
Right.
well, right? So if, they have a long engagement and things just don't work out, because sometimes things don't work out, then, again, there's no harm in any of that. It just happens to be that maybe the relationship runs its course in a different way. But if this is a person that you can see spending your life with, then I wouldn't go ahead and spoil it now at this point in time.
You'll have one of the best proposal stories out there.
Mm-hmm. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
How might a horror writer celebrate her birthday?
Well, I can tell you exactly how a horror writer might celebrate her birthday. Apparently dressed in a poofy dress and a tiara.
With cake and ice cream.
Ah. And that was a little bit of a scream on my part.
And I've already told you, today is my birthday. It's also put a pillow in your fridge day. There's not a lot of great holidays for my birthday. So we have to make my birthday a national holiday to compensate.
I don't know. That putting a pillow in the refrigerator sounds pretty cool.
And since it's my birthday, here is my latest proof copy of Little White Flowers. This is the one from Ingram Spark. So you can see it looks basically like the Amazon one, except it doesn't have the bar across it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And when is that being released, Amber?
July 1st.
So there you have it, folks.
And I have a website now, amberhathaway.com. So you can see all my book stuff there.
It's .net.
No, it's not. It's amberhathaway.com.
I'm just
Don't
kidding.
confuse people.
I'm just kidding. And yeah, I have Mega Mint. We'll also try to put some links up for folks.
Yes.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy terrific Thursday, Friday Junior's Eve. Friday Junior.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Thanks so much to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And happy birthday, Amber.
Thank you.
And Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance. And please have it a little bit of a hodgepodge for Hodgepodge Thursdays, Amber's birthday.
Yeah, if you didn't guess the theme today, these were just stories that I liked. The ones that I was like, I want that one for my day.
Have it like it's a fancy meal at Olive Garden.
Today we have a delectable assortment of morals for you to choose from. Have the vow renewal that you want, not what your family pressures you into. Wash your hands and
Never propose.
don't propose unless you really mean it.
No, never propose.
And there were other stories, but I've forgotten them, and I think that's enough of a hodgepodge for you.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!